When someone asks you what the worst show of all time is, there are a lot of things you could say, like My Mother the Car, or that new Scooby-Doo show that came out recently that I don't know the name of. Or if you're someone like me, you'll say Homeboys in Outer Space. And then you'll get carried out of the room by an angry mob and told never to come back. It happens. What exactly makes Homeboys in Outer Space one of the worst shows of all time? Let me put it this way. There are very few things that the human race can agree upon universally, and one of those very few things is that this was a mess. The lowest of lowbrow jokes, the easiest gags you can make, minimal plot, absolutely no character development, and aside from the acting, which is just okay at best, there's absolutely nothing of quality in this show. What if I told you, though, that this wasn't always the case? What if UPN actually had a hit on their hands, and they went out of their way to mess everything up? Well, if that hypothetical situation was true, you would get Versus the Network number 302, What Happens When the Network Tries to Fix Something That Isn't Broken? In the late 90s, UPN wanted to compete with BET and become a black-centered network. They were getting rid of a lot of their old shows and replacing them with new ones starring and/or made by people of color. One of the shows that was going to kick all this off was Homeboys in Outer Space. It was about two slackers who live on a really dumpy spaceship traveling around the galaxy looking for odd jobs, hoping that one day they'll make it big. One of the main people on this show was Simpsons alumni, Mike Reiss. He was one of the two showrunners on The Simpsons during its time where it finally found its footing and became one of the funniest shows in TV history. So the fact that he was on board obviously meant that Homeboys in Outer Space was gonna be great. And after a lengthy process of putting together a script and a crew, it looked pretty good. The jokes were funny, the dialogue was snappy, and the characters, while not fully developed yet, had distinct personalities and had room to grow. UPN took one look at this and went, no, this is not gonna work. We need to make it dumber. So they brought in these new consultants and writers and absolutely butchered the pilot's script. And it was this version of the show, not the good one headed by Mike Reiss, that ended up debuting on UPN and is now often regarded as one of the worst shows of all time. Why did they do this? They had a great show all ready to go, but then they decided to make it terrible? Well, there are a couple theories I have. None of them have that much evidence to go off of, but knowing UPN, I've kind of figured out some of their patterns, and I've come to 3 possible conclusions, each one worse than the last. Option number 1, bad market data. UPN wasn't exactly doing the best at this time. Yeah, it had a couple hits under its belt, but they weren't enough to compete with the major players like Fox or NBC. So they could have tried to tamper with the show to make it, quote-unquote, the perfect show, so that it was too big and too good to fail. Little did they realize, they really needed to make sure that the show was funny before they aired it. UPN has a bad record when it comes to fully embracing bad projects, like The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. The P isn't silent, that's the joke. Ha 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 ha! It was a Civil War comedy that was so offensive, at the time, that its first episode was never aired. And despite being billed as one of the network's future biggest hits, it, much like Homeboys in Outer Space, is now considered a stain on television, and if it's remembered at all, it's not in any kind of positive way. Option number 2, saving money. Good writers cost a lot. That makes sense, you get what you pay for. It's like going down to the store and going, should I get these Nikes or these mics? Tough one. Well, the mics are cheaper, so I'll go with those. And then you get all angry when they fall apart on your walk back home. That's one of the ways I see Homeboys in Outer Space's production going down. UPN cheaped out and got some worse writers, and as a result, the writing became unbearable and the show would never become a hit. But by then, it was already too late. UPN had invested so much into this crew that they couldn't let them go and start over. That would be a total waste of money. So they decided to bite the bullet and make Homeboys in Outer Space anyways, and then endure the consequences. And if this is true, that would mean that Homeboys in Outer Space was destroyed purely because they wanted to save a few $100s. Isn't that just great? And the third reason, and honestly the most likely one in my opinion, remember what I said that the new writers did to Homeboys in Outer Space? They made it dumber. Less snappy, less fun, less clever, less developed, less everything. The whole show could be mentally processed within seconds after watching the episode, and then immediately you'd forget all about it because, to be honest, there was nothing to it. With the original being described by Mike Reiss as an intelligent comedy, it almost seems like UPN wanted to dumb it down because it thought that its new audience wouldn't be smart enough to understand what was going on in the show. Yeah, that's not good at all. I really hope this one isn't true, but honestly, it's the one that makes the most sense. They saw a script that objectively worked. It had some really smart people behind it. Why would they destroy it? And if any of you out there are saying, a network wouldn't destroy a show because it's too smart, well then let me tell you about this little show known as Police Squad. For those of you who haven't heard of this is the show that Naked Gun was based on. Yeah, Naked Gun is an adaptation of a TV show. This is one of the funniest shows I have ever seen. It's Naked Gun but shorter and admittedly with a smaller budget. ABC has gone on record saying that the reason they canceled it was because it required the audience to think. They thought that little of their viewers. Isn't that just disgusting? And if a major network like ABC would do this, who's to say UPN wouldn't as well? Regardless of the motive, the fact of the matter is that Homeboys in Outer Space could have really been something good. But for whatever reason, UPN decided to take a hatchet to it, and now it's this. So what can you, the aspiring creator, do to prevent this? All you can really do is protest, but even then, that probably won't do anything. So, if I'm being honest, if this happens to you, you're kind of screwed. If you really can't convince these executives who have a clear vision of destruction for your property, then sorry, you're out of luck. Although, you could cite Homeboys in Outer Space as an example of network interference that destroyed what could have been a giant hit. And maybe, just maybe, those network executives will learn from history and choose not to repeat it. Well folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? Have you seen Homeboys in Outer Space before? If you have, what did you think? And also, what theory of mine do you think is the most plausible? Like I said, I personally think it's number 3, but I really hope it's not. So maybe some of you guys will change my mind. Comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. And now it's time to thank our wonderful Patreon friends, starting with our Masters of Fate. Manny Paredes, Kev, Leaf Storm, Ryan Williams, Chan 11, Woody Woo, and MD the Dude. And now our executive producers, Unkale, Blackjack, Edward Haas, H.R. Hoffman, Who Else But Zane, YouTube Milkwad, Albert Robinson, I Am Fove, Aaron Vasquez, Ravioli Supremo, and Indiscreet One. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then consider donating to the Patreon. There's a link in the description below for you to check out. It's not very expensive, my friends. Why not give it a shot? Alright folks, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.